This is Brown
Finally
Wealth.
awake, my boy. You're finally awake.
When I
But we're
say
here.
Brown Wealth, y'all say radio. Brown Wealth, radio. Brown Wealth, radio. When I say Brown Wealth, y'all say radio. Brown Wealth, radio. Brown Wealth.
There we go.
Yeah, I didn't say that last one.
Welcome everybody to Brown Wealth Radio. This is a fantastic Wednesday. It's hot out in these streets, but how's everybody doing, man?
It's nice in Westchester.
I love, it's the west side, and that's how we roll.
It's a little cooler down here.
It's nice that I get in my car from work and it's like 109 in my car, and then I get home and it's like 88.
It was 123 in my car.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
It was cooking. It was cooking.
Man, I think the question I want to know is, how was your Top Golf experience? It was your first time, right?
No, I've been to Top Golf a few times actually. Yeah, I was at Top Golf. Well, first off, it was I was at the one in damn, I don't remember where I was.
Segundo?
Clearly, you had a very good time. If you don't remember where you were,
probably San Bernardino.
No, it was somewhere in between here in San Bernardino.
There you go.
It was like 110 degrees, so it was hot. And I was there with I have a new job now, so I was there with the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous because I don't really golf, and my brother Frank knows this because he's always trying to get me to go golf. Like I like going, to like taking the scenery, but I'm too impatient. Yada yada yada. Top Golf is cool, so every time I go to Top Golf, I'm like, damn, I wish I was just a little bit better. Yeah. So I was a little like, damn, they're gonna see me golf. I'm gonna suck, but everybody sucked. So it wasn't that bad. It was all good. Everybody sucked, so that took the edge.
I've never been into golf. I've always loved Top Golf. Like, I mean, I played baseball my whole life, so it's always just been fun to like hit.
All right, but, so you like the baseball Happy Gilmore?
Basically, yeah. I'll do my little swing and everything like that. Like I used to have competitions with like my cousins. Like we get a little litty. Okay. But it's super fun, man. Like I love Top Golf. I think it's one of the funs. Have you ever been?
Nah, I've never been to a Top. I've been to the driving range once, and this was like shit.
I mean, it's essentially just a driving range.
It is, but it's cool because it lets you see how far.
But the one I went to didn't sound this much fun, and there wasn't any alcohol. So
yeah, what kind of driving range? Oh yeah, no, the other driving range. Yeah, regular driving
range. I mean, you could have the beer and the drinks right there, but it's not as fun as they don't serve it.
Why would anybody golf without alcohol? Because I thought that was a part of it. I thought that was how they tried to get me to go.
Yeah, it's the whole reason people go golf. It's why people go golf at 6 a.m. on Saturdays. You know what I mean? But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, bro. The only reason I get up at 6 a.m. now is because the girls wake up.
Yeah.
Pero bueno, dímelo, mi gente. Welcome to another episode of Brown Wealth Radio. This is episode 25.
We got a quarter on it. Huh?
We got a quarter on it. So we titled it Top Golf Heat Waves because if you're anywhere near the LA area, you know it is scorching outside.
People in Nevada are like, you fucking pansies.
Yeah. I mean, so I live in the valley and it's like 114 degrees.
That's disgusting.
For like the next 4 days. So my house might melt. My house might melt. And then chips and the dip, because there's been a whole lot of dipping happening.
There's
in these
no maíz today. There's no maíz today. So I hope you guys got your wine glasses ready to go.
I mean, I think we have our whiskey glasses.
Unless you made money on the downside.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of cool information for you today. The 411, Rennie did a lot of research, got a lot of good stories to talk about.
Right.
Yeah,
we're gonna end it with some the new hot stocks in tech.
Okay.
Kind of cool to hear about that. We got earnings. We got one of the most hyped up stocks, BBY.
Okay.
Right.
And
we got the goat of the goats when it comes to cybersecurity, CrowdStrike. I'm excited to go over that. We got a special guest presentation of the Credit Corner with my man Rix.
Yeah.
I'm
about to do my best, Chris.
Oh, there you go.
You can have to go deeper than that, bro. You can go deeper than that.
And we're going to be dropping some real cool recognition during the Brown Wealth Matters segment with Latinos in the film industry.
That's what's up. Yeah.
But before we do any of that, y'all already know we need Rix to do what Rix does best.
It's that time. So in honor of Dogra, I'm about to do it as Dogra today. So our disclaimer, and that is, our content is intended to be used. It must be used for educational and informational purposes only. It is very important to do your own research, aka do your own homework before making investment decisions, and they should be based on your own personal circumstances. Investing has inherent risk, and past performance does not guarantee future results. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you wish to rely upon whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise.
Oh, 25 seconds on episode 25.
You know, there you go.
Damn,
shout outs to Dogra.
Hey, you know what? That's a good pace, bro. That's a good pace.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt good, but let's keep it moving, huh?
All right. What's the 411?
What is it?
All right. Well, market's been crazy. We're going to keep talking about it, but let's get into what's been going on. All right. Yeah. So Sharp.
Top golf, everybody. Top golf.
Sharp stock market losses show investors have got the message that Jerome Powell and his colleagues are serious about tackling inflation, said Minneapolis Fed President Neil Kashkari. I was actually happy to see how Chair Powell's Jackson Hole speech was received, he said in an interview with Bloomberg's Odd Lots podcast on Monday, reflecting on the steep drop after Powell spoke. People now understand the seriousness of our commitment to getting inflation back down to 2%. So stocks tumbled Friday, and they've kept tumbling after the chair delivered a succinct and direct speech at the Fed's annual retreat in Wyoming's Grand Teton, as my son would say, Teta National Park. Powell made it clear that the central bank will not back down in its inflation fight, even if it sparks economic pain for households and businesses. One of the biggest mistakes they made in the 1970s at the Fed is they thought that inflation was on its way down, the economy was weakening, and then they backed off, and then inflation flared back up again before they had finally quashed it, Kashkari said. We cannot repeat that mistake. Well, there's a risk that the Fed might also end up behind the curve on the way down. It's a risk the central bank should be willing to take, according to Kashkari. The way to deal with the lags for me is to just get somewhere and sit there until we're really convinced that we've got inflation licked, he said. So, I mean, inflation, is it really...
I haven't seen any sort of deflation. I mean, I don't know about you guys, like anywhere as far as stores, gas, anything like that.
Gas has gone down. Like, we're not paying $6 for gas anymore.
But we're paying $5.
Yeah, I mean, but high fives. High fives, yeah.
It's gone down, but that's it.
That's the thing. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think over the last few weeks, I mean, sometimes you cannot explain the market. You know, it can be irrational, but, you know, I think people said, in the example of gas, right? Oh, it's not 6, it's 5. That means it's on its way down. It may or may not be on the way down, but it's still 5 compared to 3 a year ago, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the part, you know, that I think
you're hitting the nail right on the head, right? I think a lot of people expect, like, okay, when people say like, oh, inflation is transitory or inflation, like, it's starting to quote unquote deflate. Like, guys, the prices ain't coming down. Like, you're paying $30 for that rack of ribs. Maybe that'll go down a little bit.
Yeah.
But everything else that you're already paying, like if you go to Target, Walmart, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, whatever prices you're seeing now for those commodities, they're not bringing the prices back down.
Yeah. And I guess that's my question to both of you as far as what is, I guess, a normalized stabilization of prices of these goods and commodities going forward. Is it going to be like slightly under where we're at now? Is it going to be slightly over where it used to be?
They want it back to 2%, and it's 2%. I believe it's 2% like on a stable basis. So I don't know if they're measuring that. I believe they're measuring that year over year, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be 2%, but the thing is, once you lock in that inflation, it's very rare that you get much deflation. At least you're not supposed to in a country like the U.S., right?
Yeah.
So it's 2% on top of where we're at. So even when we finally get back to 2%, it's going to be 7%, 6%, 5%, 4%. You're still going up the whole time until you finally level off.
Exactly. So the pain is still going to come.
Yep.
Right? The pain is still going to come.
Well, so talking about the pain or not, or probably the inverse, historic charts suggest the stock market could have a solid finish to the year, Kramer says.
Oh, God.
So his buddy, longtime technical analyst Larry Williams, sees the potential for Wall Street to finish out the year on a relatively solid note, CNBC's Jim Cramer said Monday. Williams put the Dow Jones Industrial Average's 2022 performance in comparison with the blue chip index's performance in previous years to see if history might offer clues for the final 4 months of trading. The technician found the years 2014, 1962, and 1891 all presented some similarities to this year, Kramer said. These historical analogs tend to be pretty hit or miss, but when you look at the years with the closest fit to 2022, the charts, as interpreted by Larry Williams, suggest that the rest of the year is looking pretty darn good. The Mad Money host said. The funny part is he said this before today. Despite what we went through last week, he's a buyer, not a seller. Kramer presented a chart of Williams' work that overlays the Dow's 2022 action alongside its 1962 trajectory. They might as well be joined at the hip, Kramer said. The 1962 analogy says we could have a very nice run in November and December after some sideways action in September and October turbulence, he said. So, I mean, one thing you got to give Kramer, he did actually call this most recent bear market rally. He actually did. He actually was saying that it was a good time to buy in like the 380s when SPY was around 380, and it shot all the way back up to 425, 430, which we kind of said it could happen even here on Brown Wealth Radio.
Yeah,
and it did. So you got to at least give him that, because I know he was wrong on everything before that. But right here, I mean, he literally, I put this together yesterday, and the market just sold off. The last 2 days, the last 3 days. So I personally do agree that we will see some kind of bounce on the latter half of the year. I think we might even get some of that going into the elections, because if the market is down, then obviously that's going to affect the party in charge. So they're going to do whatever they can, I think, to get the market back up. But I think between now and October, I think it's gonna be pretty scary. That's my take. What do you guys think?
I'm really curious. I mean, these stock charts to. How realistic can you compare a chart from 2022 to 1962? I don't think that the year to year, that many years of separation will correlate, because the economy is just vastly different.
I agree with you, but what the charts actually are more a reflection of is they're more of a reflection of human nature.
Correct.
And like what people do when, things drop. And that's why, they always say history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And actually, when you overlay charts over charts, it actually happens quite a bit. And the one that I've been looking at a lot is obviously 2008. And this last rally almost coincided with the way down. It doesn't mean it's going to happen exactly on the way down. But the point is that at the end of the day, when did the market go down? Right? When did it go down? It went down when everybody finally said, all right, that's it. It's got to go back up. So when everybody became as bullish as possible, it went the other way. Now, here's the thing. I think in a potential like severe downturn, at some point, everyone's going to think it's bearish, and it is going to keep going down.
Yeah.
This last time, I think it was a big bull trap. Obviously, it was, I've been kind of bearish for a while, as I've said this on Brown Wealth Radio. So, these last few weeks were kind of painful, but damn, we just gave up all those weeks of gains in like a week.
Yeah.
And that's how it's a staircase up, elevator down.
Boom.
Oh, that's a fact. And I mean, just look at what happened in the aftermarket today, or is continuing to happen in the aftermarket.
Although I kind of think I don't know. I was kind of, I might be inputs, but I kind of think that I was like, damn, I wanted that to happen in the morning, not right now. I almost feel like sometimes you see that happen after, the market, and then the opposite happens. But I think it's a little too bad for it to not open up red. So we'll see what happens. On that note, Wall Street fails as job openings data adds to rate hikes jitters. God, not on today, my bad. Wall Street's main indexes fell for the third straight session on Tuesday as a sharp rise in job openings added to worries about the U.S. Federal Reserve's aggressive approach to bring down inflation. Labor demand shows no signs of cooling as U.S. job openings rose to 11.2 million in July, while a separate report showed consumer confidence rebounded strongly in August after 3 straight monthly declines. All eyes are now on the August non-farm payrolls data on Friday of this week.
Okay.
Normally, seeing companies wanting to hire workers is a good thing. More jobs is more reason for the Fed to raise rates. Bryce Doty, senior portfolio manager at CIT Investment Associates, said in a note. New York Fed President John Williams said on Tuesday he believes the central bank will raise its policy rate high enough to restrict growth and bring down inflation, and will then need to hold it there through the end of 2023. So, I think at the end of the day, what this is telling me is that there is still a lot of labor demand. I think it's a little different than it was a few months ago when, there was like the great resignation happening. I think a lot more people now realize that they got to get the work. But this is what, the reason I shared this article is because one of the interesting things about this particular cycle in this bear market is what's happening is, the Fed is obviously they're going to be hiking rates. Right, we're going to ease down on all we're quantitatively tightening. I think I said that right. But that hasn't really happened in a potential downturn before. So typically, when that happens, it's like we're typically loosening up when the market is not the market, but the economy is at least poised to rebound. Right now, it's very clear that that's not what's going to happen. So that's why there's still even some question around whether or not they would continue to hike rates, and why so many people think that the Fed will pivot, because they think that the economy would potentially stop growing, people will be out of jobs, et cetera. So then therefore the Fed has no choice but to pivot. But here's the thing, every time that they do that, it's kind of like making the minimum payment on another credit card that you are already maxed out at.
Yeah.
So at some point the government can't keep doing that. And I think that's what ended up happening on Friday, is that when Powell mentioned that they would probably not be easing up on the rate hikes, now it's like reality hit. But the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, we could talk all we want about the market, but there's like some real repercussions, because if there is truly a recession, and we technically are in a recession, but let's say it's a bad recession, like maybe past ones, that's where that real world impact is.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, to your point, we are technically in a recession based on
the numbers,
two negative GDPs, and maybe the job growth hasn't been like where it needed to be to reflect that. But now all of the information that we get from the Fed, it's all lagging indicators. Like it's all post, right? Now, look at what you're looking at in current news cycles. Layoffs, shrinking. So next quarter, what are you going to hear about? Oh yeah, we're officially in a recession because we lost these jobs. Well, no shit, the news has been telling us this
for a while. Yeah.
Now, not to say that you can trust everything the news says, but you get my point. But speaking of the news, I got one last article that I want us to cover. But before that, shout out to Mr. DC and
Matt
Perez in there with Put City.
And shout out to everybody that's joining us right now on YouTube, man. Thank you guys so much for the support. But
we have one. We have one.
One more. Oh, yeah, one more. No, go ahead.
One more, and then I'll pass it over because this one kind of ties into what we were talking about. But we'll be quick. Credit scores.
Credit
monologue continues.
The Top Golf influence continues to impact our.
We don't have a guest this week, so I'm hogging the space.
Go for it.
Credit scores still sit at an all-time high despite some deterioration in how Americans are faring financially. Consumers are increasingly relying on credit cards to make ends meet, but it hasn't significantly impacted their financial standing, at least when it comes to the credit rating. The national average credit score sits at an all-time high of 716, unchanged from a year ago, according to a new report from FICO, developer of one of those scores most widely used by lenders, and their scores range from 300 to 850. However, this marks the first time since the Great Recession, which was in the mid-2000s, that scores did not improve year over year, according to the FICO's Vice President of Scores and Predictive Analytics. As prices jumped across the board, there's no doubt that Americans have fallen deeper in debt, and yet credit scores have held steady despite the dramatic rise in the cost of living, which has caused more consumers to rely on credit card balances to jump, and an uptick in missed payments. As of April 2022, the average credit card utilization rate was just over 31%, up from 29.6% a year earlier. So I think it's dope that scores are still up, but I mean, the underlying kind of sentiment there is like, we got to be cautious about what we're charging to the game.
Yeah. I think the question everybody wants to know, though, is how many drinks has Rennie had? And the number is up, unlike the stock market. I'll tell you guys that. From somebody that's got an 800 FICO score right now, no big deal, and a 10% utilization rate. I'm very happy, but I do wonder how these credit scores, whether they're manipulating the books. Are they? Can they be? Is that a possibility, or is that just something that's
possible? But
is it that more people, the mean has gotten bigger?
I'd like to attribute it to Credit Chris and all of the gems that he drops every Wednesday on Brown Wealth Radio, and people are now people are getting hip to the game, not to the game, but they're just getting more responsible. They're learning more about credit. Yeah. So just because you have maybe more credit card debt, as long as you're handling it right and you're paying it off on time, so on and so forth, I think that's what we're seeing. People are
as Credit Chris will say, that's right.
That's right.
So you have one more.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was cool to see. So everybody's heard about FANG, right? Not the fangs you have in your teeth, in your mouth, but FANG the stocks, right? So we got FANG, so Facebook, or AKA Meta, Apple,
Amazon,
Netflix,
Google,
or Alphabet, right?
Yeah.
Now, a couple of those on that FANG list, they're pretty much on their way out, if not dead already, on life support, right?
Yeah.
Referring to,
I think Netflix. I think Facebook probably still has a shot.
And Meta, right?
Yeah, but yeah.
So now, Constellation Research principal analyst and founder Ray Wang joins Yahoo Finance and says that he's got a new nickname for the new big tech names. As far as stocks are concerned.
So no more FANG.
No more FANG for Wang.
Got it.
But Wang has a Matana.
Like Hakuna Matana?
Close.
But close.
Okay.
So Matana, we got Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Alphabet or Google, Nvidia, replacing Netflix with the N. Now you got Nvidia, a big chip maker, and Amazon anchoring it down.
Okay.
So what do you guys think about that? Like, Microsoft had a decade of no growth, sideways movement from, the 2010s. Now they've kind of reestablished themselves as this big tech giant.
Yeah. The reglow up seems really real for them. Like they've really been, doing well. I think from the last earnings, they had done really well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Microsoft
and Nvidia is just a product of everybody, really considering EVs now, and it becoming something that's a lot more attainable.
I don't think they're
they're more into like the gaming space.
Yeah, that's where their growth is. They're involved with
retract that then. Yeah. I think I had Rennie's drinks. I'm sorry.
Maybe, but I guess here, look, I'll share the market caps for all of them. So, Apple's number one at a 2.526 trillion. Microsoft, actually, well, second in the world is actually Saudi Aramco, but you know, for the purposes of what we're talking about, U.S. stocks, right? Microsoft is second at 1.95 trillion. Alphabet, which by the way, if you didn't know this, they actually trade with two different tickers. It's either $Goog, GOOG, or you add an L to it. 1.417 trillion. Then it's Amazon at 1.29 trillion. Then it's Tesla at 857.42 billion. There's actually going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 companies, U.S. companies that are ahead of NVIDIA, which is why I was sharing this. Their market cap is now at a 376.14 billion. So I'm not saying that they don't belong there, because I believe their market cap has been as high as almost 700 billion.
Yeah.
But I think there's still something to prove, because the thing with NVIDIA actually like trades kind of like Tesla. It's a pretty crazy stock to trade, and that's why it went, you know, so wild in the last year. So that's the only one that I kind of question a little bit. I'm not saying that they don't belong or that they won't be up there a little bit, but Meta, I didn't actually know this until I looked this up right now. Meta's market cap is still higher than NVIDIA's, and then also is Berkshire Hathaway's, United Health, Johnson & Johnson, Visa, ExxonMobil, and as well as a couple Taiwanese companies, so TSM, and then also Tencent, which is in China. So that's the only one I would maybe question a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. Netflix is gone, and Meta, I think Meta could still make it, but yeah, for the purposes of like what the most relevant ones are right now, I definitely see it the same.
So there's a potential instead of Matana, it's going to be Matama.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, but I like it, man.
Yeah,
I think
easy switch.
I think that like when you look at these names, like which one of them is not leading their space? Microsoft, Apple, they're both leading the game. Ain't nobody taking Alphabet out of there. Where they're at. Amazon is still
the game changer.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping Tesla from solar and EV.
So I guess I'd go
Just
NVIDIA
themselves.
again. See, so that's another one where I would poke a little bit of a hole in the NVIDIA being included. Because
who would you put above NVIDIA?
I don't know if I'd put anybody just from a gaming standpoint, but
just
overall in the chips
or tech stock. Keep in mind that if you look at these are all like
US. I know, I get that they're US. So I mean, right now you can, but I mean, definitely AMD is not as far. I actually wonder what their market cap is. Let me see if I could. I don't see it right away, so they can't be that good. They're the ones that come to mind. But here's the thing that I'll share is that like the other companies, you can't question them even outside of the US.
Yeah,
there are no other software companies, EV companies, e-commerce companies that are fucking with any of them. But when you go to chip makers, TSM does have a higher market cap. So that's
but you got to understand the politics behind that, right? They're not gonna put them up there.
Probably not.
But that's all. I'm just that's all.
Because realistically, what happens if the US and China do get into it, right? TSM could be a fucking thing of the past.
Yeah.
So
well, Matt's coming in with some strong opinions talking about the streaming wars are over. Netflix has lost. Disney has won. I mean, their programming is amazing. And Apple is about to take over NVIDIA and AMD. So he's high. He's really bullish on Apple as usual.
I got to give it to Matt. He's got his definitely some hot takes over there.
Yeah, I think he's been having some drinks for Rennie too.
I always say the same thing, man. All I know is I should have listened to Matt when he first told me to get a Tesla.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Well, that's the news. So what do we think about the news, Jesse?
Well, what we think about the news is that Jesse wasn't paying attention.
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
All right. Well, with that,
let's keep going.
I need some of this, man.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely in need of a dollar.
I need more than just one.
Exactly.
Yeah. It don't look like it's coming. But we've been having some good days. I've been making tortillas like for a couple of weeks now, but it don't look like we're gonna have some maíz. So I hope everybody's got their wine glass right now because we're about to hit a little bloody day.
Salud, sir. Salud.
Salud, boys. Today, the S&P 500 went down 31 points to 3,955, and we've been steadily over 4,000 for a few weeks. The NASDAQ went down 66.93 points to 11,816, and the Dow Jones went down 280 points to 31,510. And again, these numbers were at 33,000, 13,000, and 4,000 for our three major indexes. So it's been it's been a rough sell-off, and it's been a rough week since our last show. But again, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to Brown Wealth Radio here on TGN Latinx and the Good News Radio Network. And if you're catching us on YouTube on TGN Latinx or even Brown Skin Investors, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you. But we got a couple of minutes. So what are you guys' thoughts on the market as far as these dips? Do you buy any of the hype that Kramer's bringing into that we're going to have a strong November, December? What do you guys think?
I mean, the reality is like nobody knows what's going to happen. But if I'm following what's happening right now, like we're going to be hard pressed to end the year in the positive.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets any better.
I think, the way I would look at it is, first off, the market never goes up or down in a straight line, except when it doesn't make sense. So the way the market went up again, like kind of how we said back when we first started the show back in March, when there was that crazy rally, literally the same thing happened. The market just literally shot up on very low volume, and it's right back down to where it was, a couple months ago. I wouldn't be surprised if it bounces tomorrow, if it bounces the day after, we do a little Labor Day rally, but realistically, it's only a matter of time before it goes back down. I think there's certain sectors that are going to get worse. And honestly, I think I called this one out like when we started. I think it still has a lot of upside left, but TQQQ is the one I would look at.
Yeah.
Because I think, if you want to stay invest, and there's not, like, me personally, like, I hop in and out, you guys know this, like, but I'm always looking, right? So, for people who want to stay invested in the long term and you want to hedge that investment for a little bit, that's where you may want to pick up some shares of something that's like an inverse ETF, such as TQQQ. Because then at least you can hedge it a little bit. If the market goes back up, you're still good because your regular holdings are going up. If it goes down, then you're hedging it a little bit. But there's also going to be some sectors that aren't going to go straight down, because every time that this is tied to inflation at the end of the day, and like most likely what's going to keep going back up is gas. When you look at oil, energy, some of those sectors, there's other areas that you can invest in. But there's going to be pain ahead, in my opinion. I think from now through like mid-October, I wouldn't be surprised if we revisit those June lows, which were like 360 SPY or so, maybe go a little lower than that. And then we'll probably get an end of the year rally.
Yeah, well, with that, I think the one thing to remember, guys, is that when you're investing with funds that you can afford, that you don't need right away. And we're going to tell you more about that when we come right back.
Yeah.
When you're investing with funds that you can afford, that you don't need right away. And we're going to tell you more about that when we come right back.
Yeah.
Hey, Jackie, what's wrong?
I'm over here running around trying to tell everybody about the Podcast Pit.
What's the Podcast Pit?
I'm glad you asked. The Podcast Pit is an event where you will find some of your favorite podcasts performing in front of a live audience.
Will there be food and drinks there?
Of course there will be. It's at Joxer Dailies in Culver City. They have a full bar and a full menu.
Hey, I may need to tell people about this as well.
Yes, come with me. Let's tell them. The Podcast Pit is coming.
The Podcast Pit is coming.
Hey, my name is Jasmine Sweets, and I'm so excited to be bringing you The Sweet Spot on TGN Vibes, Good Vibes, and R&B. Playing the old school, new school, and in between. I'm coming to you this summer. Stay tuned.
What's up, friends? It's IE and friends. We're here at the Podcast Pit LA. It was so fun. We came to rep the IE. I think we did a pretty good job. So shout out to the Podcast Pit for having us. Shout out to TGN. You guys should definitely check them out. You should check me out, Saul V. Gomez.
Y'all can find me at I Know Caesar on IG. You can find me at airbear_IE on IG.
And you guys can find the podcast at IE and Friends on every social media network except for OnlyFans. That's coming soon. So stay tuned. So follow us and follow TGN Podcast Pit. Have a good day, guys.
¿Qué pasó? This is Rix with the Brown Skin Investors on our podcast, Brown Wealth Radio, where we reach and teach nuestra gente on financial literacy, exclusively on TGN Latinx on the Good News Network, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, to be specific.
Hey there, business owners. Don't miss our limited time offer. Advertise on the Good News Radio as low as $2 per commercial slot. That's right. Promote your business up to 4 times a day, every day for a month on live radio. If you're interested, email us at contact@tgnradio.net. Once again, that's contact@tgnradio.net.
Hey, Jackie, what's wrong?
I'm over here running around trying to tell everybody about the Podcast Pit.
What's the Podcast Pit?
I'm glad you asked. The Podcast Pit is an event where you will find some of your favorite podcasts performing in front of a live audience.
Will there be food and drinks there?
Of course there will be. It's at Joxer Dailies in Culver City. They have a full bar and a full menu.
Hey, I may need to tell people about this as well.
Yes, come with me. Let's tell them. The Podcast Pit is coming.
The Podcast Pit is coming.
Are you single and ready to mingle? Well, you may not be, but now here's your chance to purchase an all-new 30-day journal, Single and Not Quite Ready to Mingle, a 30-day journal to make the most of your single season. It's by me, Chanel, co-host of Brunch with Besties show. You can purchase your journal right now on Amazon by typing in Single and Not Quite Ready to Mingle. Now is the time to do the work. I'm rooting for you. Go ahead and purchase your journal now. Single and Not Quite Ready to Mingle, a 30-day journal to make the most of your single season. Are you ready?
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Brown Wealth Radio here on TGN Latinx and the Good News Radio Network. It's your boy Ricks along with Jesse and our special guest, Top Golf Rennie. As always, you can make sure you check us out on IG and always follow us there, where you'll see the link in our bio to purchase our Brown Wealth Matters stock market course, where you'll get to learn a lot more about the strategies and the know-how of how to invest and buy Brown Wealth Matters merch and more. And we still got a lot more show coming up. We got some earnings. We got some potentially some more Credit Chris information. We got some good information about Brown Wealth Matters and possibly some more bars. So let's keep this going, man. Let's hit some earnings.
All right. So first company we'll cover is actually Best Buy, ticker BBY.
Oh, my bad. I totally lied to y'all on our stories because I said it was Bed Bath & Beyond. You get the other BBY.
Not BBY. It's BBY.
Yeah. That's what earlier when you were like, I think you were saying how much noise there was, but I was like, there is? Okay.
Yeah.
But
it's like Best Buy and Beyond.
So Best Buy hit an all-time high last year, $138.07, before losing more than 50% to hit $64.29 a few weeks ago.
Diablo.
I remember, I was a little bullish on it last year. And I made a little bit because I remember getting in at like 115, getting out around 130. And I was kind of like, damn, it's going to go higher. And then it didn't. But the stock, had recovered a bit. And it was actually as high as 79.31 yesterday after they announced. So it was up like, I want to say like 7-8%. So it was kind of optimistic. But then there was a broader market sell off. And then after today, it's almost at the lows. It's at 70.69. Which obviously means that it was, investors weren't that excited about the news. But let me tell you a little bit about why they were happy with the Best Buy's results, because at the end of the day, there was positive sentiment. It wasn't until the whole market sold off that it went down. They had a lot of like news that aren't that, positive sounding. Sales declined 12.7 year over year for the quarter, which was a little bit better than the 13% Wall Street was expecting, but they still declined. Gross profit fell 18.6% year over year. Earnings per share was $1.54, so it beat estimates of $1.27, but it was a decrease from $2.98.
Jesus,
the same quarter a year ago.
Wow.
And then overall estimates $10.33 billion, so it just beat estimates of $10.24 billion. But here is why they actually initially had a positive reaction. Their inventory levels were 5.8% lower than the previous quarter. And that's something that other retailers such as Target, Walmart, et cetera, have not been able to accomplish. So there was a very positive, sentiment about that. And that's why it jumped up, because that's obviously been a huge challenge. But, Best Buy, when I think about it, I feel like, Best Days are behind Best Buy at this point. I think last year was more of a technical trade. But me personally, I just think there's a lot of headwinds that are still there. I had wrote on here that I expected to hit the lows again of 64.29. It's already down to 70. So it probably will happen. I think they've done an amazing job surviving, because I thought they were dead, like, a couple of years ago, but I think it's just a matter of time before people just stop going altogether. So, with Best Buy, I think, even though that's dope that they manage their inventory position like that, like, I think it's just a pop that's going to get sold, and I think it's going to go way lower.
Yeah. I think I challenge that stance on like the fact that their inventory levels like reduce. I mean, I think the reason for that is they're not, from an inflation standpoint, they're not getting impacted the way Target and Walmart are. Like, electronics inflation did not go up. Like, you still get an iPad today for almost the same price you got it for last year. So, but what do they sell? They sell electronics. They sell merchandise that hasn't been deeply impacted by the increase in overall prices. So yeah, you're going to get rid of your inventory because that shit is still selling at the same rate. But the clothes, all that other stuff that these other retailers have, that's where the inflation is happening. So they're not.
I think you're right. I think the only thing though is that from, well, actually, never mind. I don't want to get myself in trouble by sharing info I shouldn't be sharing. Let's go ahead and move on to the...
Cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I got the next company we're going to be covering, and I am super excited to talk about them. Hold on a second. I got to get my...
There's all sorts of money. There's all sorts of numbers.
Look at Carmen. Inventory at stores is crazy. Honestly, some places have so much stuff out. It gives me anxiety to not want to shop. Yes.
No, I will agree with Carmen on that. I walk into some stores and I'm like, how are y'all employed? This store looks terrible.
I had my first real visit to Home Depot this weekend.
Oh, yeah,
I gotta tell you, man. Like,
all about it.
It was just a lot of fun. I went in there and it was like dun 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 dun. I felt like I need to go get some work boots out of my car or something like that.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, man. Get used to that place.
But yeah, let's talk about Crowd, man.
Man, so let's talk about Crowd. So CrowdStrike, it is a cybersecurity company. So I'm gonna throw a lot of numbers at you folks right now.
So get your pens out.
Follow along with me. So their expected earnings per share were 27 cents. Their actual earnings per share were 36 cents. It doesn't sound like a lot, but ladies and gentlemen, that is a 31% beat.
It's pretty good.
That's a 31% beat. Okay, expected revenue, 516.44 million. Actual revenue of 535.15 million. That's another solid beat at 3.62%. They have beat earnings and revenue the last 4 quarters by stupid numbers. I'm talking about by 70%, 40%, 50%. Yeah. Now, CrowdStrike is about 35% off their all-time highs. They went as high as, I think, 298. They're currently, I don't know, I'm sure you're looking at
182.
There you go, 182 and change. So they're still trading at about 100 times forward earnings, right? Their whisper number, right, for their earnings per share was 31 cents. That would have signified a 50% growth. I told you just a couple seconds ago, they hit 36 cents.
Yeah.
So they still beat the high end of their expectations. Now, their annual recurring revenue. Oh, sorry, hold on a second. Subscription revenue, 506.2 million actual versus an estimate of 488. Professional services, 29 million actual versus an estimate of 28.2 million.
And just for the people that are out there that don't really know a lot about Crowd, what is the difference between the two?
Between what? Subscription revenue. So they're a subscription service. So it's like you subscribe to their service. They protect you while you're subscribed with them. So that's the revenue that they're getting.
And where exactly did it protect you from? I really don't know.
Cybersecurity. So like it's mainly for enterprises, for big businesses.
To protect you from the kukui, bro.
Oh, no. But they protect you from cyber attacks, right? So when you think about all this stuff that you keep hearing in the news, the war in Ukraine, like a lot of it has to do with cybersecurity. This is where like warfare is going to go, right? We keep talking about, is there going to be conflict between us and China, between us and Russia? Well, a lot of that is going to be cyber and biological, right? So, that's where CrowdStrike steps in. They protect all that data. They protect your security, your technological infrastructure.
Got it.
Right? So annual recurring revenue, $2.14 billion.
Wow.
Still beating their expectations of 2.11 billion. Net new annual recurring revenue, 218 million, beating an estimate of 191, coming in at a 14% beat. Subscription customers, like the actual number of clients that they have, the estimate was 19,631, and these mofos still beat that number, 19,686.
Okay.
And that's a 51% growth year over year.
Wow.
Their total, this is the one knock that they had. Total stock-based compensation was at 131 million versus an estimate of 106 million.
Okay.
I'm good with them compensating more with stock.
Yeah.
Now, here's where they decided to, like, in my opinion, flex on the market. Not only did they crush their numbers this quarter, they said, you know what, hold my beer. I'm going to do even better next quarter. So they stunted on their forward guidance. So Q3 EPS expectations was 32. They raised it to 30 to 32 cents, up from 28 cents.
Okay.
The revenue, they were expecting 569. They raised 569 to 575. And that was higher than the previous estimate. So that's how confident they are going into the next quarter. That says a lot, being that we're going into a recession. But cyber wars are going to happen, whether it's a bull market or a bear market.
I think CrowdStrike is a very solid company. I think, and they've actually, as the market has sold off, they've actually held their ground. I think that's something you could say about a lot of the quality cybersecurity, because like any other sector, there's some areas that aren't as good. The thing for me I do think it's gonna sell off, and I don't think it's anything of CrowdStrike's fault. Like the numbers are phenomenal.
Yep.
But I think it's gonna be part of this broad market sell off. And in my mind, I think like, okay, when another sell off hits, what do you sell? You sell the ones that you're still up on.
Yeah.
And I think CrowdStrike is actually one where if you got in at the lows, like you're still good.
You're
still good.
Yeah.
But they broke a channel today. They were actually trading in an upwards channel, and it's very clear that it broke today. I'll send you guys the pic tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I do think it's gonna dip. However, I personally would say like I think it's CrowdStrike. I mean, if you buy it now, you buy it when it's at 120, you're still going to be up eventually because I think it'll easily break its all-time highs within the next year or so. Yeah. But this is one I look at, so I just wanted to, be generous and share my buy-in prices.
Go ahead.
So I would buy. I think I would probably carve out a small position under 180. It's going to open under 180 tomorrow. And then I think I would buy again around 157, 137. I think those are realistic numbers. I think 120. Which is a lot lower compared, especially when, he shared those big results, but I think it could hit 120 and then that would be a buy, load the boat price. And if it were to hit around 100, that's where I would like definitely load the boat. It's just crazy because this is one of those companies that they're performing. I just think when the market takes over and that sentiment takes over, they're going to fall victim to it. But CrowdStrike, like they've been solid quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. All the sell-offs have all been, related to the greater market. They had one earnings, I think, where they sold off like heavily, but that was at the time where everybody was like tanking. It didn't matter what you were saying. So I agree. I think it's a great company.
I mean, when you think about the future, right? We just had this conversation with the news segment, right? Yep. We were talking about more tech stocks. Like, what do everybody talks about the metaverse, NFTs, crypto, like that's the way the world is continuing to move forward. If you're not like it's them, it's Palo Alto.
A real talk though. Here's something worth considering. CrowdStrike's market cap is $42 billion.
Okay.
It's probably going to hit like 20 to 25 billion after a sell-off. Like for a company like CrowdStrike, like that market cap is very, very, very low.
Okay.
Very low. Like I think why would CrowdStrike, cybersecurity, the future, the present, to be honest with you, like there's not going to be $100 billion company in that field. I don't know if there is one or not. I don't think there is because I think it would be Palo Alto.
CrowdStrike is still relatively new. Like they're not well established in the sense that they've been out for decades. So they're still growing.
Palo Alto is only 55 billion. Actually, I mean, you got to talk about the two together, to be honest with you. But that's a sector that I think.
So it looks like something's got room to grow.
I want to say hint, clue. Like if you're looking to get into some exposure for cybersecurity, but you don't want to jump right into it, you might want to look at something like hack and see what pops up in their top 10 holdings.
I'll be honest, I would just go CrowdStrike.
Just go straight there.
Palo Alto. But you're right. You never know what it's.
Some people are risk averse. Go with an ETF.
Yeah, the ETFs have sold off a little bit too, except my baby Drive.
Well, in honor of our other special guest, segment guest, let's
it's Credit Chris in the building. Yeah. Now, in all realness, I want to give a lot of shout outs to Credit Chris because he's helped us and shared so many different ways on how to improve and build your credit, especially for people that haven't, really taken advantage of it. And we had a special guest, Bobby, come in and he was able to share how he used credit to travel on the cheap. So we've talked about needing credit and why you need it, to buy a home, to get a car, for emergency expenses and things like that. But I do want to share a little bit of a personal story that I'm going through right now. I'm still knocking on wood, but I am in the process of purchasing a home.
Let's go.
So I'm super excited. And there's some things that because I've learned from Credit Chris and I'm able to start leveraging my credit in order to take care of some necessary expenses that are coming. And having a strong credit score has now allowed me to do that. So one of the things that I've gotten into and I'm going to get into and leverage is a credit personal loan. Now, if you haven't seen it, there's a lot of credit cards that now offer personal loans that go straight into your bank account, and they do offer you lower rates than the credit cards themselves. And what you do is that you pay a fixed month payment, and you could choose your payment plans from 12 months to 60 months. So if you're got a 12-month payment plan, your interest is going to be a little bit lower than a 60-month payment plan. It is what it is. But you could even get a rate deduction if you set it up as auto pay. So, I mean, a 0.5 rate deduction is really good. So what you do is that you pay for, you you get your loan and you pay it off over time. And you can do this for various reasons. Maybe you want to get some debt consolidation. Maybe you want to refinance. Maybe you want to pay for some education. Well, obviously for me, I'm going to be doing some updating the housework that needs to get paid off, and I'm going to need it in cash. So the thing is, you don't automatically qualify, but you can get pre-screened by your credit cards. And the offers do depend on your credit score. And it also depends on the available amount of credit that you have on your card. So the one that I'm going to be using, the credit card that I'll be using, is from my highest credit line. The reason why I'm able to do it on that one is because I don't use it very much.
Got it.
I don't use it very much because I've been rotating cards that now offer me more points for the different things that I use as far as travel or other things. So in talking to him, the hack about this isn't going to be that I'm going to be paying it over 60 months at that rate. What I'm going to be doing is getting that loan, paying it off for a while. And then when the time comes, when I'm able to carve out a little bit more credit and get my credit score back where it needs to be, is I'm going to start getting some.
You mean 800 and
well, just clearing it out, because obviously, when you're buying a house, you can't really get credit lines.
Yeah.
They're not going to open them up.
Your credit.
But once I get to a certain point that I can, I'm going to start getting these 0% balance transfer cards, and I'll be able to pay it off over more time if I need to. And that's not only going to help me pay it off in the long run for cheaper, but it's going to allow me to build my credit.
Absolutely.
So it's been one of the things that we talk a lot about how to use your credit, why you need it, why it's so important in all these purchases. But there are things out there that you can now do to leverage your credit once you build it enough, and once you take advantage of it. And once you're learning these things, it really struck me when Chris broke it down about how to look at it, mainly the mindset of how to look at it, like how to see it as an opportunity as opposed to a cost.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, just shout outs to him, and hopefully, again, knock on wood, because you just never know with anything, but I'm hoping that this goes through and that I'll be being able to fill you guys in on how I'm doing this and how everything's going. So yeah, man,
shout out to Credit Chris. That's awesome. Yeah, shout out to Credit Chris for all the nuggets that he drops.
And I think it's important to note, though, that you got to be responsible. Anytime that you're dealing with any kind of financing, it can adversely affect credit. So to Rick's point, you don't want to probably take one of these out while you're buying a house. But it's a great point. It's a great financial tool, and you also have to remember too, like, the wealthy don't pay for shit with their own money.
Never. You never use your own money.
Yeah, so that's something, and he brought up some great points. Like, I think at the end of the day, like when you think about a balance transfer, 0% APR, they give you like a 2 or 3% fee on it, and that's flat. If you're in a situation where you need that like extra capital, like that's way better than charging up that credit card and hitting that 20-25% APR.
And that was the one thing that really hit me. So thank you so much, Myra. We really appreciate it. I'll make sure that Rennie's there to help out. Shout out to wifey. I know that she's there.
Mad love in the chat, bro.
Let me see. Well, you're covering it.
Oh, my bad. You were going to come up here. It says, yeah, sorry, Renee. Rick's was getting mad love in the chat. Not you. My bad, bro. I had to be specific.
Like, damn it. Special guest, Rennie. Don't worry. You got love too, bro.
But I think, first of all, shout out to you, because shout out to Chris for dropping the knowledge. But more importantly, shout out to you for taking action on that information, right? Like Chris has been talking about this till he's blue in the face. But if nobody's taking action on it, then it won't impact you, right?
Hey, bro. Be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful. I see what she commented. Wow. I'm excited for the decor shopping.
Remember, Rennie already told us we have to be responsible, so that decor can wait.
Yeah. Monica, you chill on that decor, girl.
So shout out to you for taking action.
Man. Looking forward to it.
To our viewers and our listeners, like, this is why we talk about it, right? It's about the information. Now you've got this credit.
Yeah.
Boom. Now, how do we leverage it? Who cares if you got an 850 credit score or $100,000 in credit, but you're not using it,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
So,
and by the way, and just remember, like, this is, you're investing into, first off, you got to live somewhere anyway. So even if the market were to go down, which I just think in real estate in LA, it's not going to happen. So I feel like, dude, everything that you're putting into this investment is going to pay off.
Yeah. That's
so
the plan.
Much in the long
That's
run,
the plan, man.
So
I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really excited about it. So shout out to the wifey also.
Hey, wifey's like, yes, decor. Yes, decor.
Credit?
Bueno, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to bring Brown Wealth Matters segment to us today. Be safe! All right. Well, Joy Arroyo is Colombian.
Okay.
This next person that I'm going to talk about portrays a Colombian in a very popular Disney movie, Encanto.
First one in the comment to show it.
But she is Argentinian, which to me is pretty funny because if you guys follow soccer, you know that Argentinians and Colombians have a very big rivalry.
And Brazilians and Argentinians and everybody.
Argentinos have a rivalry with Brazil. Brazil don't acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Chileans have a rivalry with Argentina. Argentinos don't acknowledge us. And then shout out to the Peruvians and Bolivians, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so shout out to Stephanie Beatriz. So she plays Mirabel Madrigal in Encanto. She played I want to say her name was Rosa on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is a hilarious show. But she's partnering with McDonald's and they're doing they're launching something called Spotlight Dorado.
What's it name?
Spotlight Dorado.
Spotlight. Damn. So it's like the golden spotlight.
There you go. So a new platform aimed at highlighting Latino voices in film and increasing Latino representation in the industry, which currently only makes up 1% of Hollywood. However, the Latino population makes up over 20% of the U.S. population.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? So this statistic is alarmingly low considering what I just said. Yeah. So they're kicking off a short film contest where 3 finalists have been chosen to receive $75,000 in funding to bring their stories to life. After their films are made, the public will have a chance to vote for the grand prize winner. And what's the grand prize? A year-long mentorship with industry leaders and an opportunity to work with McDonald's on future creative endeavors. So that's pretty dope.
Wait.
I like the closing.
I know. What's that closing line right there? Come on.
We're loving it.
Yeah. Come on, I saw that. I'm like, how are you not gonna read that?
Know, right?
So what is it about these 3 finalists that got them so compelling, right? And I think this resonates. If you guys caught us on the Cesar Leo Knows It All podcast, shout out to Cesar Leo. We talked about like the Hispanic gripe or the Latino gripe in America, right? So she says, I think it's really important to remind people of Latinos are not a monolith. There's so many different types of us. I'm going to quote Clayton Davis, who is one of my favorite writers and the Latino, and he wrote, Latinos are not culturally ambiguous. Latinos are 500 million people that span the globe. Learn about us, fool.
Learn.
So that was kind of dope to see, right? So I don't watch a lot of TV, but when
it goes to the point that John Leguizamo had when they said that they were gonna cast was James,
but homeboy played Luigi, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hold on.
That's the 1% of the 1%.
Right. But you're right, because I'm gonna get right to that. Ahead. So what I wanted to kind of highlight today was just some other shows or productions that have Latina leads that we can support, because there's been a lot of dope shows. Like, I don't know if you guys caught Gentified on Netflix. I thought it was a super dope show, and it got canceled. If you guys get a chance, it's still on right now, but they didn't renew the season. It's called The Gordita Chronicles on HBO Max. Super dope show. But all of these Latino-based shows continue to get canceled, so we got to show up and show representation and get these ratings up higher.
I knew I wasn't making no mistake watching the new Game of Thrones. I knew it.
Yeah, exactly. I knew it.
So, a couple shows that are coming out. So Wednesday, it's the Addams Family reboot. It's going to be on Netflix. And the lead actress is Jenna Ortega. She's a Latina and for you, did you guys know this? It must have slipped my mind when I was first watching the Addams Family, but technically Wednesday Addams is a Latina.
Like from the original?
Well, it's Gomez Addams.
Oh, yeah.
Gomez is a Latino name. You would assume Gomez is a Latino. That's his daughter.
Raul Julia.
Yeah, she's Latina.
Raul Julia, where was he from? Remind me what country?
I'm not sure, but he was awesome as
But
Bison.
The point is, like, in the concept of the story, Wednesday Addams is a Latina. So here's Jenna Ortega, like, helping.
Puerto Rican. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, Jenna Ortega is Puerto Rican and Mexican.
Yeah,
she's from Coachella Valley. She's a California native, so we got to represent and support just on that alone. So Gomez Addams is being played by Luis Guzman. He's been in a bunch of different shows, a bunch of different movies. He's super funny. And Pugsley is being played by Isaac Ordonez, so a predominantly Latino leading cast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You got another movie coming out called Blonde. And this is by Ana de Armas. She's a Cuban actress. She's beautiful. So it's going to be really nice to see her playing Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
And did y'all know that Marilyn Monroe's grandparents were born in Mexico?
wife. Did you know
until
that?
You told me. Until
Did
you told
know
me.
that,
Until you told me, I did not know, man. That's some crazy information. Like I would have never thought. Like,
right. So here's some other ones that I want you guys to just kind of. So Raquel Welch, everybody knows Raquel Welch, right?
Yep. The 70s hottie.
So she is actually Bolivian.
Okay.
And her real name is Joanne Raquel Tejada.
Oh.
Anthony Quinn, very famous actor. His real name is Manuel Antonio Rodolfo Quintero. You can't get more Latino than that.
Nah.
You got Linda Carter. Who's Linda Carter? Wonder Woman, the original Wonder Woman, right?
Shit.
So her mama was Mexican, and her real name is Linda Jean Cordova Carter. Everybody know Martin Sheen, Charlie Sheen?
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely
they're Latinos. Right? Yeah. So Martin Sheen's real name is Ramon Gerardo Esteves.
Shout out to Emilio Esteves for not
yes, absolutely. Out, Clap it up for my man. Let's go.
And not only that, but he was a coach of a hockey team.
There you go.
The
Mighty Ducks, damn it. And this, so here's another one. Los Espookies. I love this because they actually wrote it like that. Like the title of the show is Los Espookies.
I thought it was a spoof on Los Bookies. Shout out
but it's season 2 is coming up. It was original show in 2019. But they have a ton of Latinx. So they have Ana Fabrega, Bernardo Velasco, Julio Torres, Jose Pablo Minor. And then lastly, I left this one for last because I actually know somebody who's on this show. So on Disney Plus, there's a show called Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion. It's a luchador, like superhero show.
That's what's up.
And one of my friends, her name is Lorena Jorge. She plays one of, like, I guess you can call her a villain. And we went to high school together. So this is the second person that I went to high school with that has been on a TV show.
Y'all New York people just be getting out there.
So shout out to St. John's Preparatory School in Astoria, Queens, New York.
Shout out.
But especially shout out to Lorena Jorge. Follow her on IG. I think it's Lorena Jorge 22. She's got a lot of dope content out there, but just go out there and support these Latina shows because we need it out there, man. We need the representation.
Shout out to Matt for always coming in when coming from Night at the Roxbury, Emilio. And Carmen's also sharing about Casa de Flores and One Day at a Time, and they were both canceled, of course, right? So no representation.
See, now you know why Netflix stock is in the toilet.
Yep.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in on the app. We will go a couple of extra minutes on YouTube.
But we're about to talk some Bad Bunny.
We about to talk some Bad Bunny. So make sure that you are subscribed to the TGN Latinx YouTube channel.
Yep.
The Brown Skin Investor.
Yep.
YouTube channel.
Yep.
TGN Latinx on IG.
And
the Brown Skin Investors on IG, Facebook.
And the Good News Radio Network. Make sure you get that app because that's the one where we got to get our plays up. So you already know what it is.
But we do have.
We're doing all right.
We're in the top 3.
Yeah.
Top 3.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Shout outs to the brand. Shout outs to the brand.
All right, guys. Well, you know, another episode where we actually get to do the bar segment. I'm kind of excited about this, man.
Yeah. I know I kind of spoiled it, but
hey, it's all good.
That's just gonna keep the viewers on. You know?
25 million. Guess how I'm feeling.
How you feeling?
Does
AZ have any Latino in him? Maybe it's
like he dropped a fire ass verse this week. But let me before I get ahead of myself.
We're gonna leave that for another episode because every podcast this week is talking about the whole verse. We'll talk about it when everybody forgets about it, and then we bring back the heat.
Yeah.
But today I wanted to talk about, since we're on this Latino tip.
Yep.
Let's talk about bars or records that are being broken by Latino artists.
Yep.
And the one I think we should talk about right now is Mr. Conejo Malo, Bad Bunny.
Is that because you prepared for it? Because I just spoiled it like a minute ago.
I think it's a little bit of both. A little bit of both. But I don't know about but I've been loving the new Bad Bunny album.
Yeah.
It's been on constant repeat in my house. My daughters love to dance to this.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? But bro, he broke so many records this summer. So I wanted to ask you guys, what is your favorite song off this new Bad Bunny album? But first, I see somebody out there saying, what records? Bad Bunny ain't break no records. Well, let me tell you.
I don't even know.
Let me tell you what records Bad Bunny broke.
Go ahead.
So he's the first artist to reach the Billboard 200 by singing only in Spanish.
Okay.
Boom. He has broken Spotify streaming record at 10.3 billion streams.
Oh, that sounds like a Pusha T line.
He has 55 top 10 songs, 5 number 1 album debuts. He's the first person to win Artist of the Year at the VMAs for an only Spanish word album. This tour that he's just wrapping up beat his last tour, which made over $100 million.
Yeah.
He's the highest selling, like concert selling Latino artist. He's a fucking wrestler, apparently.
Yeah.
I did not
he's
know
really
this.
good, actually. He's actually really good.
And his merch alone sold over $500,000 for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And his net worth is estimated at about 18 million
for now.
Right now, yeah.
And he's 28 years old.
And he just started too, basically.
So
let's talk about him. I know you asked us about our favorite songs, but just one point I want to make, like, so many people discredit Bad Bunny. Like, for example, I'll be real, like my mom don't like Bad Bunny. I was talking to somebody at work the other day, they don't like Bad Bunny. And because people are so surface level, and Bad Bunny will say some stuff, right, that at the surface level can be interpreted certain ways. We all know those lines, right? Yeah. But when you actually stop and listen to his music, like he is everything he sings, everything he raps, everything, whatever you want to call it, like there's purpose behind his music. And he actually touches on a lot of very, very meaningful subjects. So anytime that people just write him off because they can't handle his like culo lines and shit like that, like it's like, dude, like you gotta, you gotta listen to the whole thing. Like, do you listen to music or do you just skim through it? Like, he is actually a huge example of that. So, but to answer your question, I really liked the song with what is it? Soda Stereo, Bomba Estéreo, sorry, Ojitos Lindos. That was my favorite song on the album. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I've liked every one of his albums. This is actually not my favorite album. I liked his last two a little bit better. But this album is amazing too, though. So I just got to say that, and I can't wait to see him. I've never seen him. I'm gonna go see him in a couple of weeks. Like, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Cool. How about you?
I would say on that album, Después de la Playa is my favorite.
All right.
But I will say that most of my favorite stuff was, when he did those albums with J Balvin.
Okay.
Like, that was like my jams. Ni Bien Ni Mal is probably my favorite of all of his tracks.
All right.
Yeah, so shout outs to him.
I really like that. I think it's partially because during the pandemic when everything was locked down, like I remember when he dropped those albums back to back, like I developed like a special place for them. But one other thing that I just want to share about Bad Bunny, I know I've been hogging the conversation the whole day.
You just
But here's one other thing. Like, this is the bars segment, and you cannot underestimate Bad Bunny's bars either, because that boy got bars.
No, he got
bars, and when he's actually spitting, he could hold his own with anybody. And I've heard other rappers like jump on tracks with him, and some of them do fine, but like he always comes through. And on his songs, like whether he's singing or whether he's rapping, like he's got bars. So that's my whole point. Is like if you actually slow down and listen to what he's saying, like. Yeah. You got to give him his due. And I was one of those people that initially hated on him, and he won me over. And I hope everybody who has never given him a chance gives him that chance, because that's how dope he is.
I mean, some people in our chat, some people in our chat weren't giving him a chance.
Really, so dude, I don't get it. Like the moment I heard his music, it was fire. So for me, it's a tie, and I agree. Después de la Playa, especially because I like the second half when it turns into like that merengue típico. But then El Apagón, El Apagón is fire. It's got 3 different beats. Like you can't go wrong with it. Like, so, but what I like about it is, like, for anybody who's hating on Bad Bunny, bro, like he is the epitome of what we dream about as kids. He was a freaking cashier or a clerk at a store while he was recording on SoundCloud and got discovered. Yeah. So it's not like he came from anything. You know what I'm saying? Like he's one of us.
Yeah.
He'll tell you like I'm who I am. And that was one of the things that I found really cool about like one of his speeches recently at one of these award shows. Like, I am me, I'm Bad Bunny, I'm Puerto Rican, I speak bad English. You don't like my music, like, bro, don't listen to me. And if you like it, then you already know. So shout out to Bad Bunny.
Shout out to Ruben for admitting that he didn't want to listen to him until WrestleMania. But hey,
there you go.
Whatever made it happen.
All it took was to see Bad Bunny jump around in some tights, and
Ruben
was
dude,
sold.
like that's just dope. Like, you gotta give him props for that.
No, hey,
what can this guy not do?
As a wrestling head, his work for the craft, like the actual craft of it, was just amazing. I thought, like, it's just a lot of props, because you're doing some stuff out there. He did some stuff out there that some of the wrestlers don't do on the normal. Okay. Yeah, man. So
he's like a legit fan of it. Like it's what he grew up on. So shout out to Bad Bunny and all his success. Much, much more success to come your way, brother. And we can't wait to have you on Brown Wealth Radio one of these days. So
so
go ahead.
Invite's there, Bad Bunny.
Tag him, share this, send it to him. We'd love to have Bad Bunny come on here and talk about his journey. So with that, you guys got any last words?
No, just shout outs to everybody that stayed on. Thank you guys so much for all the support and everything. And shout outs to the brand, TGN Latinx and the Good News Radio Network, man. We're going to continue to build with them.
Much love to the Good News. Much love to, our fearless leader, Keith. Much love to Jax for running TGN Latinx.
Let's go.
I want to share one thing to all of our viewers and listeners. I think we have to understand what we're doing here, right? And when we're talking about the Good News, this is the network that we are creating for us, right? And we're only a part of it, but I want to be very specific in sharing that because if you're listening to this and you're listening to it on the app, I really hope you'll just take a couple of minutes to go on the App Store, to go on the Play Store and download the TGN app, because we need you guys to download that, because the whole point here is we're not on Spotify.
Nope.
We're not on Apple Music. I understand that would be way more convenient for you. I really do. I really get that, because I'll be honest, most podcasts we all listen to is probably on those, right? But if you're listening to this, and you haven't downloaded the app, please go ahead and download that app, because 100%. This is actually a movement that we're doing here, that we're a part of. And, I think in a few years, when the Good News becomes this huge conglomerate that is going to turn into one day, shout out to everybody at the Good News. Yep. I really hope that you'll have been here from day one. So if you're currently tuning in, please, make sure you download that app. Don't get with us when we're up at the top. We're at the floor level right now. We want you in the elevator with us, right to the top with us. Shout out to everybody on the Good News. Shout out to everybody on TGN Latinx. It is truly an honor to be a part of this. We had a meeting this past week. We got to see how many people we are touching on a daily, weekly basis. The Good News is going to be actually expanding to other markets. More news will come out on that in the future, but it's just a matter of time. So, thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. So we could ask you for one thing is, if you don't have the app already, please go on the App Store, go on the Play Store, download that app, and actually tune in there and listen to us. I know you're going to miss out on this eye candy a little bit, but make sure you listen in on the app too, because these voices are just as sexy.
Rennie will be the guest.
And Dogra ain't even here. And Dogra ain't even here.
Oh, but he's here, all right.
It's been a minute. Yo, it's been a blast, you guys. I'm glad that we got to do this. While I love having guests, I love it when it's just us kicking it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next week.
I'm burning up the area. Wonder how the hell your boy keep on spraying up. Put the beat on life alert. I'm coming back to bury ya. Now I come around, the flow is so relentless.